So you join us at this precarious moment of dropping the sump off this engine, ready to swap out for the one that I've prepared. We're going to check the oil pan on this, and if the pickup pipe is nice and clear, we'll extract that and use it in the other one. I'm aware that this is precarious, so my head is going nowhere near the underneath of this engine. I shall stay well away. We do need to clear off all of that gasket though, which is going to be a bit of a feat, but yep, here we go. So yeah, that's good news. This pan is clear from debris, so we're just going to knock this pipe out. My current process is to just tap on the end of there with a screwdriver until it pops out. So this is the sump ready to go back in, the pickup pipe back in. I've tried torquing these up to these are done to 8 and the other one's inside between 5 and 8. I couldn't find any guidelines for these, so we'll just have to see how it goes. Okay, so after scraping off as much as I could and then Scotch-Brighting the rest and then finally cleaning it with brake cleaner, this surface hopefully is ready for the sump. So I'm just going to do the same to the other side, to the sump itself, give it a bit of a brake cleaner job, and then try to apply a bead. So I apologise I didn't get any of that on camera, but it felt like a bit of a race to get that sealant on there, to get the sump back in place, and to get it all tightened up according to the tightening sequence, which is something like that. And you do them up to 23 Newton meters, which I have using my friendly digital torque meter. So the sump is back on and hopefully sealed. We shall see. So there's some areas where the paint's flaking off, I'll be honest, as you can see there. And that's because that was a highly polished place really, where the wire wheel was. The rest of it's not doing too bad, so I'm not complaining too much. And I can just tap that little bit up. So it's on with adding a few extra bits to the engine before it sees the gearbox. We can put these bits on the side. I'm going to lower it back down in a second. So we've got the tensioner, there is an engine bracket that goes on here, there's the crank pulley. On the other side we've got the flywheel to pop back on, which I can do now that the sump's back on. So I'm just going to lower this back down and then see where we end up next. So joy of joys, we're here filming again in the dark. But we've got the engine side bracket mounted, the tensioner for the auxiliary belt mounted and torqued up to spec. So thankfully arriving today was the new water pump seal from Evotech Tuning, so we can whack on the water pump housing and the cross pipe and the thermostat housing. We've got a new seal for that in the end, for that part as well, arrived today, so we're looking good. So there is the water pump, cross pipe, whatever, and thermostat housing back in place and looking pretty. All new seals as we've mentioned. So I can't quite do the flywheel yet because I haven't got the blue Loctite for that, so I'm going to call it a night out here and we're going to try and pull some seals out the gearbox now. Well, this wasn't a particularly nice job either, pulling out this seal. In the end I just had to smack a screwdriver in one side and lever it out, and it did make a mark in there, so I just rubbed that back gently, hoovering the dust out at the same time, and it's smooth again now. So we just need to pop the new seal back in, and there's the other side out. Same method, tap a screwdriver in, lever it out, and then I just got some jaws on it and pulled the last little bit. So at work I managed to find a tube that fits over the seal nicely, and managed to drive home this side okay. Took a bit of a wallop with the hammer, but just keep tapping it around and off it went in. So I'll do the next side, and then I think this gearbox is ready. And the second one in. Woohoo! Well, thankfully the carport is keeping us all nice and snug down here, nice and dry. So we're going to try and fit this flywheel, and I've just modified my hold everything still bar so that I can hopefully, I just need to open up the holes, but I needed to get some nuts back on this side, so I've had to open up the bracket. But once I've opened up these holes, that'll fit on there. The nuts can go on and hold it in place while we do the middle ones. Okay, so it's in place and held on with a couple of screws, but we've got some Loctite to reseal these bolts in. I think that's maybe that's the main aim of this, really, is to seal up the bolts, stop any oil coming through, as well as keep them in place perhaps. But anyway, I'll stop waffling and we will tighten these up. So these are torqued to 55 Newton meters and then 25 degrees. So I might just estimate that, I don't know. See how I get on. So this thing turns out to be quite easy to use, and I've just done these up in a star to an extra 25 degrees, so hopefully that's bang on the right torque that we need for the flywheel. So next we can mount the clutch in place. So we're giving this a brake clean out wipe over a few times just to make sure there's no grime on there. I'm going to try and use this alignment tool, and just to note that there is a label on here that says gearbox side, so that's the side that's going to face away from the flywheel. So yeah, just going to get this thing configured and we'll get that aligned up in the cover. So if you've never used one of these before, you pick the appropriate insert for your clutch plate, and I've chosen this one, which kind of sits in those grooves nicely, and then you adjust this top knob to get a grip of the clutch plate down in there. Sorry that you can't see very well. And then this one comes and takes a bit of pressure on the plate and just holds the clutch against the splines. Then you flip it over and check it's centralized. So we're checking all around this edge now that we are fairly close to center, which we are. And so there is a tiny bit of movement if I wanted to, but I'll just take that out and then we can align it onto the flywheel. So once you're nice and flat against the nuts are nice and flat, we can release the tension from this tool, and out it comes. We are nice and centered. I'm going to get my light so you can see. Okay, that's better. So if we look down the center there, nicely in the middle. Now I'll be honest, I don't know what torque these nuts need to be, so tomorrow, seeing as I don't need to do anything else on this side now until the gearbox arrives, but that won't be today. I mean, you know, till I decide to join them together, which won't be today. So I'm going to ring Courtney Sport up tomorrow and I will grab the torque specs for these. Obviously they're not standard because they're different sized bolts and things, and I'll get that torqued up tomorrow. So what else am I going to do? Install the new oil filter. I might see how easy it is to fit the alternator and adjust the tensioner whilst it's in this situation. Easier than in the car. And we shall pop on the exhaust studs whilst we're here too. Okay, so the fresh exhaust studs went in nicely and looking good. I've got to say, it's so much more relaxing doing these jobs where you've cleaned everything up, you're not dealing with grime and grit everywhere. It's just much nicer. Prefer this a lot. So we'll have a look at the tensioner and alternator, I think. So to put this crank pulley back on, we need to know that there's a keyway at the top, that you can see that, of the shaft, and then there's two flats, which is the flats that drive the oil pump around. So we need to match those up on the pulley. We should be able to twist the pump into place first and then slot home the key. Okay, that seems to have seated home nicely, and looks to be close enough to the engine block again. So we just need to grab the bolt and nip her up. So tightening up this one was fun. You got to do 100 Newton meters first, and then 75 degrees plus 15, so 90 total. Takes a bit of effort, but we did it in the end. So we can move on. Okay. There she is. Seems to fit on there nicely. So this is a shortened belt for the fact that we're not running the AC compressor, and that seems to fit lovely. You can get half a twist, whatever. That's looking after that. So getting there. I'm not sure how easy this will be to fit with this in the way. At worst, we may have to try and do that procedure in the car, in the engine bay. But we shall see. At least I've test fitted it. I know that it works. I know that the belt's the right length. So yeah, we can move on. Here's a nice shiny, well not shiny, but nice and new oil filter to pop in. I was wondering if I could prime this somehow. Maybe somebody will tell me in a minute. If you can prime these oil filters, because obviously there's a great big hole in the bottom, so if I just pour oil in to the middle, it's going to just seep out the bottom. So, don't know. Maybe I just need to plop some in here before we run it. Eventually, we shall see. So, in review of tonight's work, we've got this side prepared. We've got the clutch and flywheel installed. So I'm going to end the video here because I don't know how long I've been rabbiting on for, but I don't like to make huge great long videos because it takes ages to upload them. But the next stage then is to wander this around to the car on this crane thing. Hopefully it takes it, we shall see. Might take a bit of faffing around because we've got to get across the grass and everything. But we'll give it a go. And then over the weekend we shall match it up with the gearbox, which is ready, and have our first attempt at putting it back in the car. We may need to take the bonnet off to do this, which is no major concern really, but we shall see. So I'm going to end the video here, guys, and again, thanks for watching, thanks for the follows, thanks for supporting me on this journey, and hopefully in part 2 this baby will be back in the engine bay. So wish me luck, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.